Hey, everybody, welcome to Women at the Well for the month of February, March. And today we have a guest. Miss Elise is with us.
Hello.
And of course, you know Carolyn, and
Yes.
my name is Michelle. And so this month we're talking about self-image and self-worth. And we can even throw in self-esteem within that topic because all three of these phrases encompass beliefs about oneself, right? What we think about ourselves, be it positive or negative, evaluations of the self and how we feel about it. And of course, it's always totally subjective because we're thinking about us, and it may or may not be true. So there's a brief mention of a woman in the Bible. She's not mentioned by name, but she is known as Naaman's little maid. And this story can be found in 2 Kings, the 5th chapter, the 1st through the 14th verses. And the woman was a common, ordinary woman, a very young woman who worked seemingly insignificant and an unglamorous job, but she is a woman with a mission, placed there by God to represent him and to speak his word boldly and without fear. She may have considered herself poor and unworthy, but she had a divine appointment, and that was to urge Naaman, who was a great commander of the army of the king of Syria, who had leprosy. Her job was to urge him to listen to and follow the instructions of the prophet Elijah to cure his leprosy. By listening to his maidservant, being obedient to God and his words spoken to him from the prophet, not only was he healed, but his faith and belief in God increased. We know that God's word says that some are planted, some watered, but God gives the increase. How wonderful is it to know that this maidservant was a vessel in God's plan. So, ladies, when we sometimes think of ourselves as unworthy, seemingly with nothing to say, that nobody would even listen to, God can turn situations and thoughts around. Fair to say?
That's true.
Okay. So let's look at some of the things we think about or say about ourselves. And I want you guys to just kind of chime in and comment. So the first question is, do we as women feel like we have to prove our worth?
I think so.
And why?
From my personal experience, I've always wanted to be a nurse. I just consider myself as just a mother. And I've always wanted to be a nurse because, to me, nurses have a significance. But every time I would try to go to nursing school, I never could complete it. So I felt like I wasn't complete until one day God finally spoke to me, told me I have another way for you to help people other than being a nurse. So he brought my mom here for me to care for her for a few years. And I ended up having to adopt my foster child. And just being a mother, that was my worth. And it made me realize it's more to just having a title to being acknowledged as a person. And that was like a big thing in my life up until, well, still now, but being a mother, being a caregiver, I've been a caregiver, just pretty much a caregiver without a title.
You know, it's wonderful that you mentioned, you know, being a caregiver and, you know, just being a mother. It's not just being a mother, because a mother it can be huge. Yeah. But, you know, some women put their worth on their occupation. You know, like some may think that that title, right, striving to have this big title makes them actually more worthy or builds up their self-esteem. But that's not always the case, right?
No, it's not. And then also too, we measure by, you know, what others think of us too. So, you know, if we are at a certain level, it's interesting because with my own experience, as you know, I shared before that I was looking for another job opportunity, which I got, praise the Lord.
Yeah.
But then another opportunity came. And in that, it would be more responsibility. I would be more stressed, all of these things, right? But for a quick minute, I thought about, ooh, I will now have this title. But what I prayed for and why I wanted to leave the other job was I prayed for less stress and all of this stuff, which I got. He gave me. And then I turned around. Then all of us, for a quick minute, well, I wouldn't even say a quick minute, a couple of days, I really thought, well, I'll have basically this position of power. But then the very thing I was trying to get away from was stress. I was going to go right back to that. But that image of being in this position, because I was going to be managing all of these people, and what that kind of did to my own personal, I guess self-esteem at that moment was like, yes. And then it was very made clear to me, like, wait a minute, Carolyn, you're going to go back into that very same thing that you were in when you weren't necessarily managing all the people, but the level of stress. For what purpose?
So why do women equate titles and also beauty with self-worth?
I'm thinking because maybe it holds a status to the public. For how people view you from the outside, how the world looks at you. That's what I think. And then it, like, a title holds the status. Beauty makes people look at you and more probably respect you. What we think a lot more. And we always say it's about what's on the inside, but when people first see you, they don't see your inside; they see your outside.
Right. I think we've been conditioned to, when we first meet someone, the first thing we see is the outer appearance.
Right. Yeah.
So we tend to make quick snap judgments based on, what they look like.
And there's nothing wrong with looking nice and looking attractive. So we don't want to say that. Right. But a lot of times too, as we're seeing more and more on TV, because there's more shows that are coming on women who are basically almost trying to recreate their bodies, from breast implants to,
butt implants
to, slenderizing your thigh, whatever this is happening. And oftentimes people can't afford it. And so they're going to doctors that necessarily aren't specialists in that area, getting this work done. And then, there's become like serious health issues as a result of it because, we want more. We have this image that we've seen on TV or we've seen that we feel like it will raise us up to whatever, another status if we look a certain way. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to look attractive. But do we need to do that or do we, is it about us getting healthier, which in most cases not, because we're not running to the gym, but it's about what the world sees because something in us feels like we're not enough.
I think we've been conditioned by society to just look a certain way, be a certain size, have a certain, hair type or color or whatever it is.
And then we're our own worst enemies. When we look in the mirror, we don't see what everybody else see.
Right.
We like totally criticize and critique ourselves when it's really, the world don't even see us like that. The outside don't even see us like that. And then who are we doing it for? Are we doing it for ourselves? Are we doing it for people? If we're women, or are we doing it for men? Just from my experience, even talk to different men, they prefer a more natural. And it's okay, because as you get older, you're going to have flaws. We're born with flaws. That's how God made us. He made us to have flaws.
And it starts gravitating down the older you get.
Yes, things do change as the older we get.
Yeah.
We see way more in ourselves than what other people say. When I hear other women say, I got this, I didn't even notice that. I couldn't even notice that. How do you even know that? I have flat feet. Nobody would know that but me. Because I wear shoes everywhere I go.
Exactly.
But when I see myself at the end of the day, oh my God, my feet are so flat. I can't wear heels. I can't do that. Who cares?
But are we pouring into, each other? My mom was very big on pouring into me and that you are enough.
Right.
Regardless of what anybody says, you are enough.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we're necessarily getting that affirmation, from, parents, friends, the friends that we're with, are we giving them, affirmation on that they are enough, because I'll say in a minute, like, ooh, I could lose about 20 pounds.
Mhm.
And then, are we, the person that's with me, like, girl, yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Versus, you know what, you are working that
Yeah.
outfit. You look good in that outfit, or
Yeah.
you look good, But I don't necessarily think that we also build each other enough
Right.
as women. We don't pour enough. Or if something is not necessarily flattering on a person, do we say, you know what, that's a cute outfit. Maybe it would have worked a little bit better, or you would have felt a little comfortable if you had gone up a little size, depending on how well you know the person.
Yeah. And
I think we don't say that enough.
And I think when we were growing up, because we're probably maybe two generations, but I think when we were growing up, we didn't have anything to compare it to. Because we didn't have all that social media. So when our parents said it, like my dad, he really poured into me.
Mm-hmm.
Like really, he always told me, you're going to be a large woman, but take care of yourself. You don't have to be a large sloppy woman. Always take care of yourself. So he poured into that, but I didn't have no comparison. But now, people these days, this generation, they have memes to compare to. They have social media to compare to. So regardless of what your parents say to you, you still comparing it. I mean, the outside forces is way larger at this point than a family network.
You're right.
Yeah, and I think that's how we turn this around, because you're right, social media is everywhere, and we again are so conditioned that we have to, that we can't accept how we are, how we really are, and I think that it's an excellent point in that we need to pour into each other, because a size 2, whatever. That's so unrealistic, and it's not what society really looks like. That I think if we did more pouring into one another and building one another up, that helps build our self-esteem and our self-worth.
Because think about now that people send pictures, because I used to watch 90 Day Fiance a lot, so you meet different people from other countries. And so even the picture that you're sending is filtered.
Right.
So when they actually meet the person, they're like, okay, you kind of didn't look like that, And it becomes a surprise because you need to capture the attention of someone. You need it to look different. Yeah. Okay, but did it ever dawn on you that the person was actually going to see you? Now, maybe the thought was that you would capture their attention and then the relationship would kind of grow. So it wouldn't matter that you kind of didn't look like that. I don't know. But we're also presenting somebody that we're not.
That's not true. False interpretation.
Exactly.
And then you have to have something on it, even if that is the case. You capture somebody with a filter, but you got to be able to have something on the inside to give to them. That's going to keep them, because ultimately that's what's going to keep a person. Now, look, it's not going to keep, because look is
exactly.
Look can change overnight. You can go to sleep, take your hair off, makeup, everything. You're a whole different person.
And so what is it on, you made a good point about you gotta to capture them, and then what's on the inside. And so working on what is lacking, inside of you that you need to maybe work on, whatever that may be, for, I have a friend of mine and she really wants to kind of date guys who are scholarly. And so I told her, okay, well, if that's what you're looking for, then let's talk about what books maybe you need to read. If that's what you're targeting, and the intent is to target, then okay, how do you keep them? So, it's kind of like she wants a certain type, but then...
What are you bringing?
Exactly. Exactly. What are you bringing to the table? And then if that's what you want, how do you, so what do you need to do more? Even though I feel you need to do it for you.
Right.
But if you've decided, this is kind of what you want, then you're right. Very attractive person, but then what else is,
then what else? Besides that,
Exactly.
I think, true beauty really starts from the inside out. And if you present your best self, and that's physically, if you're a big person, at least, tone it up. Don't be flabby and, but tone it up. Make sure that you are presenting your best self.
But the world is instant now. Everything is instant.
Yeah.
You want it now.
That's true.
Working out takes time, and the results might not come real quick.
No. But
everybody want it right
but
now.
but I just
Take the point
again
How do we
out.
get them
Why
to
there's-
understand?
why there's
Yeah.
why there's surgeries,
Yeah.
because that
Yeah.
instant,
Yeah.
don't have to
Instant-
work.
yeah.
Yeah, let's
Mhm.
I can go.
Do it now.
I'm good to go. I can get all this done, and then I'm good to go in 6 weeks. Not realizing that this is happening internally, and your body has to heal.
Mhm.
But you think, and then be ready for the consequences of these things.
Right.
Now, I'm not one of these people. I'm not saying that having some little tucks here and there is a bad thing. I'm not saying that, so I don't want that to go off. But recognize a lot of things that are done, extensive things that happen. Oftentimes, it just moves to other places. So recognizing
enough is enough.
Yeah, exactly. Knowing when enough is enough.
Yeah, enhance your natural beauty, not overextend who you are, or even try to alter and change who you are. Because to me, when you try to change who you are, you saying that God made a mistake. Yeah, that's really how I feel about it. Some things we do ourselves. We overeat. God didn't make us like that. I did that. I overate and make myself like that. A lot of things we do, but we can help alter that. But when you start trying to change who you are, to me, you're saying God made a mistake, and God don't make mistakes.
Interesting. And you said that we did, which means He gave us free will.
Right.
And with that free will, we make choices. Good, bad, or whatever.
Right.
We make them.
Yeah.
We have to own them.
Yeah.
So that was interesting when you said that.
Yeah, I need to correct that because I overate. I ate myself to this place, so I need to correct that.
Right.
But when you start changing this and changing that, changing your whole look, like making yourself look like your meme or your filter or your emoji, that's not who you are.
Right. Right.
So you wouldn't have a little facelift, a little.
I said a little nip and tuck is okay.
No,
We're talking about
yeah.
rebuild to a certain point where people are literally almost rebuilding themselves. That's when it is. I want to go back to what Michelle said about your best self, because I want to know, what does that mean when you say best self? What do you mean?
Well, again, whatever size you are, make sure that you're healthy at that size. So if you are, by society standards, like 50 pounds overweight, but are you healthy? So, make sure that you are getting regular checkups, make sure that you're eating right, make sure that you're toning up, so you're not so flabby, but then also work on the inside. Surround yourself with
likeness.
with like-minded people. Surround yourself with someone who's like up here to where you want to go, so that you're striving to always be better emotionally, be better intellectually, read books, better educate yourself.
Don't compare yourself.
And do not compare.
Right,
You're right.
right,
Do not compare yourself.
right.
Be the best you.
Right.
Right. And once you start doing that, that helps to alleviate that lack of self-esteem. Because that you are.
Yeah.
Because we are royalty.
Right.
And we
Right.
need to act like we are.
Right.
Yeah. I think for me, my thing was, by me being what I do for a living, I've always had a lot of clients that were nurses. And I see, how they live their lives. They travel, they do this, they have this, and that. I want to be a nurse because they make so much money. And then that's why I think I was comparing myself. I wanted to do that so I could have what they have. But ultimately, in the end, I didn't become a nurse, but I had probably that and more. But doing it the way God told me to do it. He said, I'm going to let you try to do this, but this is not my plan for your life. And so when I just followed what I felt was, what he told me was his plan, I end up, to me, being blessed more than what I ever thought I could be blessed. And not monetarily, but just my whole life in general.
Right.
I was able to be there for my kids as they grew up. I didn't have to put them in daycare. And that's something I've always wanted. I've always wanted a certain life. I want to be able to have my own free time, but still maintain my household. I want to be there for my kids as they grew up. Cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Oh Lord, I got one more year, but I'm almost done. And He's allowed me to do that, and that's the lifestyle. That's the lifestyle I wanted, and I did it without having that title.
And remember too, that's your plan. So we're speaking from, a believer standpoint that we have certain plans for certain things for us. And things work out, but it didn't look like how we thought.
Right, yeah.
Mhm.
So I think that's what we all, and I'm going to do a generalized, but I think that we all kind of do that. Like we set out to do certain things, and this is how it's supposed to be. And when you start looking over kind of your whole life, you realize, wait a minute, Lord, those things that I asked you for, you gave it to me, but it didn't look like how I thought. But it didn't take away from the blessing that it was. And so I think that's where that our lives are being orchestrated by Him.
Yeah.
This isn't just us, and we were created for a purpose. We weren't just put here just to be here, and His purpose is not necessarily our purpose.
Right. And when I was thinking that same thing, and when you talked about, this is what you wanted, but when you listen to God, because God always knows best.
Right.
And that free will thing, okay, go ahead. You think
right.
You got it, you do it. But then when you become obedient and when you start listening to Him, doesn't always look like what you think it should look like.
Yeah.
But again, it didn't take away from everything that you wanted to do.
Because I always thought blessings was money, but it was not money. Blessings was
Not
people
always.
that came into my life, people that have left my life. It's just been people that's been there for me, people that I've met throughout my lifetime, and everybody just poured into my life. And I think, like I have a 25-year-old, and she's out on her own, out kind of by herself. But I pray that she gets somebody that poured into her, like I have women that's poured into my life. And I pray that she eventually finds that network of people, because that means more than anything.
And that's being your best self, surrounding yourself with people who are willing to pour into you, surrounding yourself with people who have what you want. And there's nothing wrong to strive for that, but just make sure that you are listening and following the guidance of the Lord.
Right. And I know we're saying, find people, and you're thinking, well, where do I find these people? In the grocery store? Where at Macy's? Where do I find them? First of all, ask God to really to guide you. Lord, you know the desires of my heart, and you know what I am trying to do. But I need that friend. I need that support. I need that, that person, and He will. And it might be somebody who's already present.
Right.
Not necessarily somebody that you had a relationship with, but through somebody else, and you kind of seen them, and that could be the person. And so ask God to show you, and then look for God. I think we don't look for Him enough. We say, Lord, guide me and keep me, Lord. But we don't look for Him in all things. I'm very guilty of that, where it's like in all things. I'm reading this book, and it's just a really interesting thing. This woman is kind of sharing her life's story, and in the story, she said it took me like 20 years to get it, of all these different people that were in my life that I didn't realize at the time they were there for purpose, and they kind of moved me, and they didn't all stay. But they moved me where I needed to go. So a person might come, and it wasn't their job to stay in your life for the duration of your life. But that season, what did they bring? Did you grow from that season? Did you, whatever it is. And so I think as we're asking God, then diligently look. Like, Lord, is this you? I mean, say it out loud. Lord, is this you? I mean, is she the one? Or whatever. Show me, Lord. Guide me, Lord. But I'm looking for it.
And I think my biggest blessing was I didn't have to go out there and look. Everybody came to me.
Well, this is true.
That was like the biggest. To me,
at least does hair, so we'll say that out loud, because I know you guys are saying, "What does she do?" Yes, but she's my beautician, and yes, she's mine. Yes.
You mentioned some people don't know how to look. So, and you said they brought, you didn't have to really look, but tell us a little bit more about how, if someone really doesn't know how to look for God,
how to hear His voice and how to look for God through other people. I think for me, it was God would speak. He spoke to me personally in dreams. He would show me, this is the next step. This is the next level or the next step in your life. And sometimes I didn't follow it, and sometimes He gave me things that was really uncomfortable. And I didn't want to do it, so I wouldn't do it. I need you to pray, not just for this person, but I need you to go pray for this person. Oh no, I am not doing that. I don't have nothing else to say to that person. He would not give me rest. So that's how I knew personally it was God speaking, because things was just uncomfortable. And when it came time to adopt my daughter, I didn't want to adopt her because she was everything. When I went to adopt her, she was everything that I did not want. But God said she's going to be everything that you need. And she was I didn't want a special needs. I didn't want nobody that couldn't do this, and that, and the other. And he gave me just that, everything I marked on that paper that I did not want. No, I'm really serious. Everything I didn't want. And that's who I ended up adopting. I didn't want to adopt her, but he took clear as day. I wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to go to school. I don't want to adopt her because she's too much of a responsibility and a liability. And okay, going to school. I'll go to school. Every time I get so far in my programs, I have these bad anxiety attacks, end up in the hospital, and things just couldn't go, and my body would just get out of whack. So I had to stop. And then I end up with her, and it's just everything surrounding her. It's not, I don't remember even asking. I just remember him just telling me, this is what you're going to do. And so when I finally I'm not going to say I gave up on being a nurse, because I still am a caregiver, just not in that aspect. But things just started kind of flowing. And to me, that was his voice. His voice said, just follow my lead. I'm going to give you every avenue. He was just opening up doors for me to walk through. And the doors that I couldn't get through, those just wasn't the doors he gave me the keys for.
And I want to say too, with Elise, because I'm going to stay blessed with dreams, even though I'm sure sometimes that can be taxing. For those of us who he does not come in a dream form, he does speak to us. You know that gnawing thought that keeps repeating itself? That's him. That thought that makes you feel uncomfortable and, oh no, I'm not doing that, that's him. And it keeps coming up, keeps on. I was telling Michelle, this is a while back, I was telling her I'm being challenged that the Lord is really making me deal with some issues that I had not dealt with previous relationships. And it keeps coming up. And I'm like, Lord, no, that isn't my issue anymore. And clearly it is. And now I'm almost he's making me and just putting me in places where I have to actually see these people, where I have to deal with it. So when you're really asking the Lord to come in and work with you on some things, be prepared that he'll work with you on some other stuff that you hadn't dealt with yet. And that voice you keep hearing that, we can interpret or, to a lot of different things. But that nagging that keeps, as you say, popping in your head, that's the Holy Spirit. Because he can't take you other places unless you handle what's before you that's burdening you. Because it's a weight. I know for me it's a weight, so I am going to handle it this week. It's a weight. And he can't take you higher or even bring other people in your life if you got unresolved issues with past people that you didn't deal with. So I think we need to consider that when we're saying, Lord, send me. Send
and
me
also,
someone.
it came to me when I always hear this song, the Lord will make a way. And a lot of times when we just don't see how this is going to work, and doors just start opening or things just start happening, that's another way of hearing his voice. Because he just makes, sometimes it's not real easy, but he does make that way.
That's
He
true.
clears that path for you.
That's true.
We have to be open.
Right.
Because that's one of my issues. I tend to, if I don't want to be bothered, that little nagging person or that little nagging voice, I will just, and y'all won't hear from me. Yeah, that's just that's a defense mechanism of mine. But I'm learning, and I have learned, just to be open, because you never know how God is going to speak to you or what he's going to do unless you're open.
Yeah.
And being open doesn't necessarily mean, just telling everybody all your business.
Or receive everything everybody is given to you.
Exactly. I think that God will let you know who to listen to and who to talk to.
He'll give you discernment.
Yes, and who not to.
Right.
Yeah, but I think if we are just open enough,
Vulnerable, is that the word?
Okay, well, that's a word, yes.
Yeah,
Being vulnerable.
Yeah, being vulnerable.
Being
So is
vulnerable.
it being vulnerable to the people physically or being vulnerable to his voice?
Mm.
Because it's hard to be vulnerable to people if you don't know if they having the right intentions or not.
Yeah, but that's where that discernment comes in.
Yes, right.
I think because you never know who God is going to send
Mm-hmm.
your
Do we
way
all
to
have
help
it?
you.
Do we all have discernment?
I think we have
We all have that.
a bit of discernment.
I have the gift now. The
Yeah.
gift of discernment, I
Right.
do have. I
Yeah.
do have that gift. I think he will give you a level of wisdom. I
Mhm.
guess that's the word.
Mhm.
A level of wisdom to know when you feel, that feeling
Right.
again. You feel that,
Yeah.
you know something not right.
Yeah.
You know somebody who trying to get up in your face and be your friend.
Yeah, but you have some people that's why I'm asking, do we all have it? Because you have some people that just make these decisions that's not of God, and you knew that wasn't good work. Are they just not using it or don't understand what it is?
So when you say that, oftentimes because you know this person, do you really know? Like, I have a person that I know that basically she just want to do what she want to do.
Okay, yeah.
So it's just a choice.
Okay, the
Mhm.
choice.
Some of it's just it feels good, whatever it is.
Okay.
It's just a choice, and you just gonna go with it and see what happens,
Okay.
Mhm.
and hope for the best. Or maybe it won't be that bad, or maybe this might be okay.
Okay.
So sometimes
Gotta go along with my program.
Exactly. You just hope for the best.
Okay.
That's why people have been in crazy relationships, just hoping that some miracle happens and the person will change or get better. Or you even had girlfriends where you knew they treated other people crazy, and you just thought that wasn't gonna happen to you because you were a better friend,
Okay.
and that same craziness happened to you.
Mhm.
So it was already in front of you, but you were hoping maybe that things would be different because it's you. So that's once again where it's choices that we make, and we already know. Some of it is come on.
Yeah, and again, I think God gives us a certain amount of wisdom to be able to tell the difference. And then he also will allow some things to happen that, because you listened when you shouldn't have. But again, in that, you have learned a lesson.
Yeah, we hope you grow
Yes.
from it.
Yeah. And so I think that still being open as opposed to not being open is a lot better.
Exactly, because you really miss so much when you're not, and then you're looking at why it's happening to other people. Well, it could have happened to you in a positive way, but you closed down. You didn't allow yourself to be vulnerable, and so therefore you're just you've missed out that blessing because of that. But always try to seek wisdom in what you're doing. This has been a really, really great discussion. I mean, we could go on and on about this. Knowing your self-worth, having self-esteem, all of those things we want, and we're still striving for a lot of these things. There's still areas of improvement. The difference with us, the three of us sitting here, is that we have a Savior. Yeah. And because he resides in us, he does give us clarity. We don't always listen, but he gives us clarity. He gives us direction. When we are in need, we can go to him. So we just extend the invitation for those of you guys who don't know him to really accept him as your Lord and Savior, and recognize a lot of things that you're struggling. You won't be struggling alone. We're all going to have struggles. We're going to have issues. We're going to have challenges, but you won't be alone. And so we just hope that this conversation today, which was a good conversation, has been a blessing to you, and that you'll be able to take the information that we've shared and be a little stronger, a little bit better. Recognize that you are enough. You are that queen that Michelle said earlier. You are the queen that God created, and you definitely have been created for purpose. So God bless you, and we'll see everybody next time.
All righty. Bye-bye.